You open your eyes, and the world is wrong. No continents, no oceans that you recognize. Just one vast, stitched-together landmass sprawled beneath a bruised, eternal sky. The air is thick, humming, alive with heat. It smells like minerals and rain that hasn't yet learned how to fall. Beneath your feet, the ground trembles softly, as if something enormous is breathing just below the surface. Welcome to Pangea, a time when Earth was one body, one breath, one slow, restless thought. The horizon bends under its own enormity. Clouds crawl like bruises across the heavens. Lightning flickers, painting the air with ultraviolet ghosts. Every breath you take feels charged, sweet, almost intoxicating, like the world itself is exhaling through you. You're standing 335 million years before humanity. Here, the planet is still rehearsing the idea of continents, still learning the choreography of its bones. Mountains are new and raw, their faces scarred from collisions that stitched this supercontinent together. Rivers carve their first paths through bedrock that still smolders from creation. There is no Europe, no America, no Africa, only one Earth, welded shut by force and fury. Take a moment before we journey deeper. If you enjoy slipping through time like this, if you find beauty in what came before, make sure you're part of these journeys. Now, breathe in. And let's begin. The air burns a little, doesn't it? That's because oxygen is thick, nearly 35% compared to the 21% you know. Fires here burn hotter, brighter, faster. Even the simplest spark can turn a forest into a sea of flame. And yet, that same abundance gives life an audacity it's never had before. Ferns tower higher than houses. Trees without flowers claw skyward like cathedrals. Dragonflies the size of hawks drift through the humidity, their wings whispering against air that feels almost liquid. Amphibians as long as canoes bask in the shallows, blinking with slow, ancient patience. The world is crowded with giants, but none of them know they are living in a fragile experiment. You take a step, and the mud grips you, thick, black, and alive with decay. The planet hasn't learned subtlety yet. Everything grows too much, breathes too hard, burns too quickly. Evolution hasn't found balance, it's still testing. The sound you hear, deep and low, isn't thunder. It's the Earth's mantle shifting beneath you. The crust groans as continents press together, still settling after the violence that formed them. The collision that birthed Pangea lifted mountain chains that will one day become the Appalachians, the Urals, the Atlas. You can almost feel the planet remembering its own pain. If you started walking west, you could cross from what will one day be New York to Morocco without ever seeing the ocean. But you'd never make it. Between you and the horizon are deserts the size of continents, mountain ranges sharp as broken glass, and plains of volcanic glass still warm from eruption. The world is enormous, but claustrophobic, one thought stretched too far. And yet, even here, you can sense the pattern forming, the pulse beneath the chaos. Pangea isn't just geography, it's a heartbeat. The rivers hum through its veins, draining into vast basins that gleam like mirrors. The forests sway in rhythm with the wind, whispering secrets in spores instead of leaves. Even the sky seems to breathe in time with the ground. This isn't just the surface of a planet, it's the skin of something alive. You crouch beside a shallow pool. The surface shimmers with light and ash. Tiny insects skitter across it, ancient pioneers, unbothered by the electric storms rumbling overhead. Each one is an ancestor of everything that will ever crawl, buzz, or fly. You're watching the rehearsal of every future wing beat, every heartbeat that will ever be. But there's tension here, something gathering below. The tectonic plates beneath you are still restless, pressing and folding in slow agony. In time, those pressures will rip this supercontinent apart. But for now, the cracks are whispers, not wounds. You climb a ridge overlooking a panorama that doesn't look real. Rivers weave like veins across a living body. Forests stretch so far they vanish into blue haze. Clouds move like continents of their own. The beauty is so vast, it almost feels cruel. Power without mercy, creation without concern. The sky darkens again. Thunder rolls across the land. Not the quick crack you know, but a deep, drawn-out groan that feels like a god shifting in its sleep. The sound vibrates in your ribs, ancient and endless. Beyond that horizon lies Panthalassa, the world's only ocean. One endless, storm-racked sea encircling the planet like a blue halo. It's out there, waiting. You'll reach it soon enough. For now, you stand on the back of a sleeping giant. Beneath your feet, magma pulses through veins of rock. The wind tastes of ash and salt. Somewhere in the distance, lightning dances along a fault line that hasn't yet become a coastline. And in that moment, you understand something simple, terrifying, and beautiful. That even in its earliest breath, Earth was already learning how to break itself apart. You inhale the heavy air one last time. It smells of wet stone and promise. And deep beneath your feet, the first fracture begins to form. A hairline crack in the crust, a quiet promise that nothing, not even continents, stays whole forever.
The first thing you feel is weight. Not on your shoulders, but in the air itself. Thick, electric, almost predatory. The sky doesn't look blue anymore. It hangs heavy and green, swollen with dust and oxygen, glowing faintly as if lit from within. You squint upward and realize there's no single sunbeam, just a molten glare pressing through smoke and mist. Lightning crawls sideways for miles, never touching ground, like veins of light threading through the atmosphere. The thunder doesn't crash, it rolls, slow and endless, shaking the marrow in your bones. This is weather before weather, a world where the sky hasn't yet learned gentleness. Each raindrop that falls is a weapon, fat, hot, and heavy. They strike the ground hard enough to sting, carving instant puddles in the mud. And when the downpour breaks, steam rises from the earth like breath from a wounded beast. You're standing at the boundary between eras, the end of the Carboniferous when rainforests ruled, and the beginning of the Permian when the world decided to dry out. Here, life is caught mid-breath, between swamp and desert, water and flame. Ferns tower overhead, their fronds glistening like slick green leather. Lycopsid trees, massive, scale-barked columns, stretch higher than church spires, their crowns lost in perpetual stormlight. When the wind stirs, they sway in slow unison, a forest breathing through one lung. You take a step forward. The soil beneath you shifts, and for a moment you think you've stepped on a root until it moves. A ripple runs through the ground, and a shape slides out from under a fern, long, black, gleaming. An amphibian the size of a crocodile, eyes golden and lidless, watches you from the water's edge. It doesn't move. It doesn't need to. Here, patience is the ultimate predator. The ground shakes again, not from your footsteps, but from below. The earth is flexing. You can almost hear it grinding, like gears turning in the dark. Volcanoes along the horizon exhale ribbons of smoke, painting the sky in shades of rust and violet. The atmosphere hums with oxygen, too much of it. Fires here don't behave like ours. They leap from tree to tree in seconds, devouring forests faster than wind can carry ash. You can see the glow of one now, a faint orange smear on the horizon, spreading like spilled ink. The air smells of wet wood and ozone, of rot and rebirth, the scent of a planet constantly reinventing itself. You climb to higher ground, where black basalt ridges still radiate heat from old eruptions. Each step makes the world shimmer. Below, the forest breathes in firelight, every tree trunk glowing faintly with reflected flame. When the blaze reaches the marsh, the air explodes. For a moment, daylight returns, a pure white flash that blinds you. The oxygen feeds the inferno until it roars like the end of time. But then, as always, the storm takes over. Rain slams the canopy, steam surges skyward, and the cycle begins again. Burn, drown, regrow. Life here doesn't mourn, it resets. You kneel and scoop up a handful of mud. It's slick, black, and alive with tiny threads of green. Spores cling to your fingers, glimmering in the dim light. Even in the ashes, something waits, patient, invisible, inevitable. This world is learning the rhythm of survival, destruction as renewal. You lift your gaze. The storm thins for the first time in days, or centuries, depending on how you measure time here. The clouds open just enough to reveal a sky you almost recognize. Stars peek through, warped and dim through haze. There's Orion, or what will become him, a crooked constellation watching over a planet that has no memory of names. The air cools slightly, and for the first time, you can breathe without coughing. The night is beautiful, quiet, almost merciful. But beauty here always hides a threat. A low rumble crawls across the land, too deep to be thunder. The basalt ridge beneath you trembles. You glance down to see a thin line of light snaking through the rock, molten red, seeping upward like the planet's pulse. Far off, a new volcano opens its throat. The earth exhales again, pouring rivers of fire into the dark. You realize what's happening. This is how continents grow. Not gently, but through eruption and collapse. Every mountain, every plain, every future fossil bed is forged in this violence. And though the night sky looks calm now, you can taste the sulfur in the wind. Something massive is shifting underfoot, an imbalance building toward catastrophe. The dragonflies return, their wings catching the faint light of distant flame. They drift silently through the ash, larger than any you've ever seen. You hold your breath as one passes inches from your face, its compound eyes reflecting 1,000 tiny versions of you, each one fragile, temporary, irrelevant. You exhale, the creature vanishes into the mist. The storm isn't ending, it's transforming. The heat changes direction, pulling away from the swamps toward the interior. You can feel the humidity thinning, the air drying around you. The world is preparing for its next act. Soon, these endless forests will curl up and die. The rain will stop. The rivers will vanish into cracked red earth. The fires will move inland and find no trees left to burn. And when they do, the planet will invent a new kind of kingdom, one made not of water, but of dust. For now, though, the thunder continues to roll, long, low, and endless, the voice of a planet dreaming itself into something harsher. You close your eyes and listen. Each rumble feels like a heartbeat, each flash like memory forming. And just beneath it all, you can almost hear the whisper of what's coming. The swamps will burn, the deserts will wake. You wake into a different kind of silence. The storm has gone, but it's left behind a world soaked in aftermath, a living bruise that steams under the half-light of an exhausted sun.
The air is thick and heavy, tasting of iron and rain. Your first breath feels like swallowing humidity itself. You're standing in what will one day become a fossil bed, an ancient swamp where time moves too slowly to notice. Beneath your feet, each footprint is a future discovery waiting to be dug up and named. The ground breathes under you, sponge-like and slick with decay. Ferns taller than houses crowd the landscape, their fronds dripping with moisture. The trees here don't bloom or bear fruit. They grow like architecture, column after column of barkless trunks stretching upward into a canopy of spores. No flowers, no birdsong, just the deep, wet hum of a planet learning to inhale. You brush past a giant frond, and it releases a puff of brown dust, spores glittering in the sunlight like bronze powder. They settle on your skin, cling to your breath, fill the air so thickly it feels alive. You cough, and for a moment it's as though the forest is trying to plant itself inside you. Something moves in the distance, a ripple across the dark water. Then another. You step closer, peering through the fog until a shape breaks the surface. A massive labyrinthodon, half fish, half reptile, watches from the shallows. Its head is slick and black, its jaws lined with teeth that seem older than the concept of hunger. It doesn't move towards you. It doesn't need to. The entire swamp is its hunting ground. This is their world, the reign of amphibians. They rule by patience, waiting in the murk for movement, for mistakes. Their eyes glow faintly in the haze like distant lanterns. Somewhere nearby, another croaks, a low, resonant call that trembles through the air like a warning. On the banks, something smaller scurries between roots. Its footprints are like tiny hands pressed into the mud. A primitive reptile, barely larger than your palm. It's just learned how to live without returning to water, carrying its fragile lungs into open air. You watch it vanish into the moss, unaware that its lineage will one day build cities, sing songs, and wonder where it came from. But right now, the swamp doesn't care. It simply exists, hungry, humid, eternal. You kneel beside a fallen tree trunk, hollow and slick. Inside, a colony of millipedes the length of your arm rides in slow motion, their shells glistening like polished metal. One of them, Arthropleura, emerges, easily longer than you are tall. Its body moves with the whisper of 1,000 paper folds. It doesn't attack, it doesn't even acknowledge you. The swamp has no predators and prey, just participants in an endless experiment of growth and rot. The scale of life feels wrong here. Everything is too big, too damp, too alive. The oxygen-rich air supercharges everything that breathes. Insects stretch into giants, moss grow into trees. Even decay feels oversized. A soft bubbling sound rises nearby. The water quivers as methane escapes from beneath decomposing layers of plant matter, carbon and death fermenting in slow union. You can almost taste it, that sweet, chemical tang of what will one day be coal. The river bends like a serpent through the swamp, its surface black and reflective. Every few moments, a ripple disturbs it, spreading rings of oily color. If you listen closely, you can hear the faint fizzing beneath the surface, a whisper of trapped gas and decay. Millions of years later, this very gas will light cities, power machines, a ghost from this steaming grave. You wade through shallows where the mud grabs at your ankles like a living thing. When you pull free, each step makes a wet, reluctant sound. Something glints at your feet.
You pick it up, a piece of wood, dense as stone, its pores filled with minerals. Not yet fossilized, but halfway there. You're holding a memory in progress. Then it happens, a sound that cuts through the swamp like a blade. A long, low bellow, deep enough to vibrate your chest. You turn toward it and see a shape emerge through the mist. Tall, slow, deliberate. Its back arches into a sail of bone and skin. Dimetrodon, a predator before predators had rules. It moves like a shadow through the ferns, every motion measured. The sail on its spine glows faintly in the filtered light, a living flag of heat regulation. Its mouth opens, and for a heartbeat, you see the first true smile evolution ever made. A line of serrated teeth perfected by patience. You hold still. It doesn't come for you. It just walks on, the embodiment of inevitability. Around you, the air vibrates with the chorus of unseen creatures. Amphibians croaking, insects buzzing, the slow drip of condensation falling from leaves thicker than your body. Everything alive seems to be talking to the mud, to the water, to the air that feeds it. But something feels different now. The swamp's breathing is shallower, strained. The storms are fading. The humidity, once endless, feels like it's receding. The ferns are browning at the tips. You can sense a change coming, not sudden, but certain. Somewhere deep within the planet, tectonic restlessness stirs again. The mantle shifts, volcanoes hiss, and the air begins to dry. What was once paradise is about to become purgatory. You kneel, scoop up a handful of black sludge, and squeeze. Water oozes through your fingers, dark and shimmering. You think about how this will one day turn to stone, how it will burn again millions years later in the hands of another species that never saw this place. And in that thought, something clicks. The symmetry of destruction and creation, of life feeding on its own remains. The world, you realize, has always known how to recycle pain. The sun sinks lower, turning the mist to molten gold. The creatures are quiet. For the first time, the swamp seems to pause, listening. You hear the wind shift, the first dry breath of an age about to begin. You close your eyes and let it wash over you. The scent of decay, the hum of ancient life, the pulse beneath your feet, all fading, all preparing for transformation. When you open them again, the world is still. Only the sound of distant thunder remains, echoing like memory across a horizon that's already drying out. The swamps will end. The rain will stop. And the earth will learn to live without water.
The air is different now. It doesn't cling to your lungs the way it used to. It cuts, dry, sharp, unfamiliar. The last of the swamps lie behind you, their steaming breath fading into memory. Before you stretches a plain of cracked earth, endless and pale, shimmering under a cruel white sun. The planet has turned the page. The rain has stopped. The world is thirsty. You walk across what was once a jungle. The ferns are gone. The great trees have fallen, their trunks turned to brittle husks. The soil, once black with decay, has bleached to the color of bone. The air tastes of dust and salt, and every breeze sounds like whispering ash. This is the Permian, and the Earth has reinvented itself again. The continents have drifted closer together, crushing coastlines and raising mountains in slow violence. The sea retreats, and what remains of the ocean dries into shallow basins of salt and death. Rivers vanish into the sand. Entire forests collapse from thirst. The world you knew as green is now painted in red. Iron dust coats the land like rust on a forgotten machine. You kneel and drag your hand through the dirt. It crumbles instantly. The ground is warm, almost hot, radiating heat from beneath. The sun is relentless, but the real fire comes from inside the planet itself. Volcanoes lace the horizon, not as sudden explosions, but as slow, constant wounds. They bleed smoke into the sky for centuries, a steady exhalation of ruin. The Earth is exhaling carbon again. At first, life endures. Reptiles adapt faster than their amphibian ancestors. Their scales shimmer like armor, their eggs hard-shelled and self-contained, no longer tied to the mercy of water. You spot one now, a creature with a sleek, triangular head, its skin the color of rust. It moves with mechanical precision, its body casting a long shadow across the dunes. This is a survivor, one of the few that can thrive in dryness. The age of amphibians is ending. The age of reptiles has begun. But the price is steep. You climb a low ridge and gaze out. The land looks shattered. Cracks in the ground run for miles, wide enough to swallow rivers. You peer into one, a chasm glowing faintly red at the edges. The heat rising from it smells metallic, bitter. It's as if the planet is trying to cauterize itself. Dust devils dance across the plains, twisting columns of air that hum with static. In the distance, a lake glitters, but as you approach, it flickers and vanishes. Mirage. The desert is cruel with hope. At night, the temperature collapses. The same air that burned you by day now freezes your breath. You huddle beside a boulder still warm from the sun and listen. The world is quiet in a way that feels unnatural. No insects, no birds, just the faint hiss of cooling stone. But if you listen closely enough, there's another sound, soft, rhythmic, a scraping, shifting noise. You turn and see movement under the stars, a small group of creatures with sprawling limbs and armored hides. They crawl like shadows across the sand, moving from heat to heat, surviving by memory alone. Their eyes gleam in the darkness, reflecting starlight like wet glass. These are Dicynodonts, tusked herbivores that will one day rule this wasteland. They travel in herds, their calls low and mournful, like the sound of wind passing through bone. You follow them for a time, their footprints press deep into the cracked soil. They lead you to a dried riverbed, a reminder of what once flowed here. You can see the ghost of water etched into the stone, curving and smooth, now filled only with dust. Above, the stars seem closer, sharper, as if the universe is leaning down to watch. You lie back against the cool earth and look up. The Milky Way is clearer here than it has ever been, a luminous scar stretched across black infinity. And for a brief moment, it's peaceful. The chaos feels distant. The world, though wounded, seems to rest. But the peace is a lie. The volcanoes never sleep. They churn, constantly, bleeding heat into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide fills the air, invisible and patient. The oceans, those that remain, begin to warm. Bacteria bloom, feeding on the imbalance, exhaling poison into the waves. You can't see it yet, but the balance is tipping, slowly, irreversibly. The land glows faintly at the horizon, where another eruption begins. The sky flickers orange. You can feel the tremor travel through the ground, a deep pulse that travels up through your feet and into your chest. The heartbeat of the planet, growing irregular. You close your eyes, and for a moment you hear it clearly, the sound beneath everything. Not just wind or thunder or the groan of tectonic plates, something else, something like a slow inhalation. The earth is breathing deeper now, and every breath is fire. The herds vanish into the dark. The desert stretches on forever, quiet and endless. The stars reflect in your eyes like distant embers. And just as sleep begins to pull at you, the wind changes. Warm, sulfurous, electric. A storm is coming again. But this one won't bring rain. The light comes late. You wake expecting dawn, but the sky remains bruised. An ocean of dull red, veiled with black smoke. The horizon flickers like the afterimage of lightning, but it isn't lightning. It's something older, something deeper. The sun still rises, technically, but it's dim, weak, almost ashamed to show itself. The light bends through the haze, thick with ash and sulfur, painting the land in perpetual twilight. You can smell the air before you breathe it, acrid, metallic, scorched. Every inhale feels borrowed. The volcanoes have stopped erupting one by one. Now they erupt together. The earth has lost its rhythm and replaced it with chaos. You climb a ridge and look out. The horizon burns from end to end. Rivers of lava snake between mountains, filling valleys like molten rivers of blood. Every few moments, one mountain disappears in a burst of light. An explosion so vast, it seems to rewrite the shape of the world. This isn't a single eruption, it's an era of eruption. Welcome to the Siberian Traps, the wound that nearly ended everything. Over a span of 2 million years, volcanoes will pour enough lava to bury entire continents. The oceans will turn to poison. The air will thicken until it can no longer sustain breath. The sky, once blue, will die in shades of gray and rust. The ground trembles beneath you, and a wave of heat rolls across the plain. So hot, it feels like opening an oven door the size of the world. You drop to one knee, coughing, eyes burning from the sulfur. The rain that follows isn't water, it's acid. It hisses as it hits the ground, carving tiny craters in the dust. Each droplet smokes, each breath hurts. Even the wind feels flammable. Somewhere in the distance, a forest still burns. Its trunks are already charred to columns of black, yet flames crawl over them as if feeding on ghosts. The smell of burning carbon clings to your skin. You pass a lake, or what used to be one. The surface is coated with a slick rainbow film, shimmering like oil. Dead fish float belly up, their scales peeling in the heat. You kneel and touch the water. It's warm, almost boiling. When you pull your hand away, your fingertips sting. The earth isn't dying quietly. It's making sure everything watches. You continue walking. The light shifts as plumes of ash blot out the sun entirely. The world turns from red to gray to pitch. For a moment, it feels like night has arrived early and it won't leave. You can hear the faint patter of falling soot, like dry snow. It collects on your shoulders, on your hair, on the bones of animals long gone. Then, silence. The kind of silence that has weight. You stop. The tremors fade. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. And in that stillness, you realize something terrible. The heartbeat you've been following, the pulse beneath your feet, has slowed. Not stopped, but struggling. The atmosphere is changing faster than life can adapt. The oceans, once cradles of abundance, now suffocate under blankets of bacteria feeding on carbon. They bloom, die, and rot, releasing hydrogen sulfide, a gas lethal to almost everything that breathes. It rises in waves, drifting across land like invisible smoke. You take a breath and choke. The air tastes sweet, cloying, wrong. Your eyes water, not from heat, but from poison. You can feel your body begging you not to breathe again. You look around, but nothing moves. No insects buzz, no calls echo. The world feels hollowed out, as if emptied of meaning. This is not extinction by violence. It's extinction by exhaustion. The Earth isn't breaking apart. It's running out of energy to hold itself together. You stumble down into a valley of blackened stone. The ground here still glows faintly, the color of dying embers. Beneath your feet, bubbles of trapped gas burst quietly, each one a sigh from the planet itself. At the edge of a fissure, you stop and listen. The sound is faint, but it's there. The slow hiss of magma, the heartbeat trying to continue. For a long while, you just sit there. The ash settles around you like snow, muffling everything. You watch the horizon disappear into the smoke, and you think about what the world used to be. The rainforests, the dragonflies, the amphibians calling through the mist. All gone. 9 out of every 10 species will vanish here. The Earth has been through ice and fire before, but never both at once. This is the great dying. And in this silence, something within you shifts. Because even though the world feels empty, you realize that life doesn't vanish. It hides. Somewhere in the depths, in dark cracks of stone and shadowed caverns beneath the sea, something small continues to breathe. Not strong, not proud, just persistent. A heartbeat too quiet to hear. A whisper too faint to notice. But it's there, waiting for the smoke to clear. You tilt your head back toward the dim sky. The sun is still up there, buried behind clouds of ash and dust, trying to shine through. Its light filters faintly through the veil, weak, distant, but real. It's not much, but it's enough. The day the suns died wasn't truly the end. It was a pause, a long, trembling inhale before the world remembered how to exhale again. You wake into nothing. No color, no bird song, no smell of rain or rot or green. Just stillness, endless and absolute. The light is pale, filtered through layers of haze so thick it turns the sky but color of bone. Shadows have edges no longer. Sound feels dampened, as though the air itself forgot how to echo. The world has gone quiet to survive itself. You walk across a landscape drained of meaning. The ground crunches under your feet, powdered stone, ash, and the brittle skeletons of plants that will never regrow. The air is thin, heavy with carbon, but empty of oxygen. Each breath feels like borrowing from a dwindling supply. This is the aftermath, the age of rebuilding, though nothing is yet ready to rebuild. All around you lies the Permian aftermath, the greatest mass extinction Earth will ever know. 90% of life gone. The ocean floors are deserts. The skies are still. Forests no longer hum with insects or rustle in the wind. Even bacteria, those tireless architects of decay, have slowed their work. The world is still trying to remember the rhythm of life. You kneel, sift the soil through your fingers. It feels like dust from another planet. There's no scent, no trace of life, just the faint warmth of a sun filtered to gray. It's strange. The Earth doesn't feel dead, just empty. Like a stage cleared after a tragedy, waiting for a new act that hasn't yet been written. The silence becomes a kind of sound in itself. You can hear your heartbeat echo in your chest, syncopating with the faint tremor beneath your feet. The old pulse of the planet, slower now, but still there. You start walking. The horizon doesn't change. There are no landmarks anymore, only dunes of dust and broken basalt ridges. Somewhere to your left, a faint shimmer ripples the air.
You approach, thinking it might be water. It isn't, just heat rising from a plane of glass. Sand melted by fire and cooled too quickly to become anything but memory. Here and there, shapes break the monotony. Half-buried bones, fossilized tree trunks turn to stone, the black outline of something that once crawled or flew. Each shadow a monument to a vanished world. You find a canyon cut deep into the land, its walls lined with ancient strata. The layers tell the story wordlessly. Black coal from the swamps, red iron from the deserts, gray ash from the great dying. It's a calendar of grief. You run your fingers across it, tracing the seams of time, and realize this is how the earth remembers. And then, faintly, impossibly, you hear movement. At first, you think it's the wind, but the air is still. The sound comes from the rocks themselves, a soft skitter, a dry rustle. You crouch and see it, a small lizard-like creature darting between cracks. Its skin is scaled, its eyes bright. When it stops, its throat flutters, and you realize it's breathing. The first heartbeat you've seen in days, or centuries, depending on how time works in places like this. It vanishes before you can move closer, but the silence feels different now. Not empty, pregnant, as though beneath the stillness, something is quietly beginning again. You walk on. The sky darkens slightly, but it's not storm clouds, it's volcanic haze, still drifting, still falling. The sun burns as a dull red disk through the smoke. The light it casts is weak but strange. It makes the ash shimmer faintly, like dust lit from within. You climb a ridge and stop. Below, the plain rolls endlessly, but there, at its farthest edge, you see something that shouldn't be possible. A streak of green. It's faint, barely visible against the gray, but it's there, a small cluster of plants, fragile and defiant. You approach slowly. The ground around them is cracked, but between the fractures, moss grows. Not much, just a thin film of green clinging to damp rock. You kneel and brush it gently with your fingertips. It feels soft, alive. The smell that rises is the first scent of life in what feels like forever. Wet stone and the faintest trace of chlorophyll, a memory of the color green. You breathe it in deeply. The air still burns your lungs, but now it carries something else, possibility. Life, small as dust, has returned. You sit there for a long while, watching the moss shimmer in the fading light. A few insects, barely visible, move between the patches. Maybe they're survivors, maybe they're new. It doesn't matter. They're enough. In the distance, faint thunder murmurs, though no rain follows. The sound feels ceremonial, like applause after a long silence. You close your eyes and listen. The earth hasn't healed, not yet, but it has begun breathing again. Somewhere deep in the crust, the plates still shift, the magma still moves. The planet isn't done remaking itself. But this moment, this quiet persistence, is the seed of everything to come. You lie back on the ash. The world is still gray, but it's no longer empty. The silence feels softer now, less like absence and more like sleep. The long silence is ending.
When the silence finally breaks, it begins with a whisper, a faint crackle in the air, the sound of a world relearning how to move. You stir to warmth, not the suffocating heat of lava or the stale breath of dying air, but something gentler. The ground beneath you radiates with a slow pulse, as if the planet's heart has restarted. The ash is softer now, the dust finer. The scent of sulfur is fading, replaced by something cleaner, the raw metallic tang of new stone. You open your eyes to light, real light. Not red or gray, but gold. Thin, fragile rays filtering through the haze, gilding the cracked landscape. The sun looks shy, like a god returning after centuries of grief. And in that light, the world stirs. You see movement first in the soil, small things crawling through the dust, shiny shells glinting faintly, beetles, the first decomposers to reclaim the world. They scurry through the cracks, chewing what remains of the old age, turning rot into renewal. Tiny ferns unfurl from between stones, their green almost neon against the monochrome earth. Moss spreads like spilled paint over the basalt, drinking condensation from the morning air. You touch a patch. It's soft, alive, pulsing faintly with moisture. The age of life has returned, but it's different now. Smaller, humbler. The giants are gone. The earth has learned the cost of excess. You begin walking across the plain. It feels new beneath your feet, even though it's built from ashes. Here, rivers are returning, thin, uncertain streams carving lines through the dust. Their trickle sounds like laughter in the silence. The air is clearer. For the first time in ages, you can see distance again. Mountains blue on the horizon, the faint shimmer of water reflecting sunlight. The planet is breathing. The sky, once thick with poison, has thinned enough for clouds to return, drifting lazily like ghosts relearning grace. You pause to watch a small reptile sun itself on a rock. Its scales are patterned like cracked clay. It blinks slowly, unafraid, then slips away into a crevice. Its lineage will one day fill the world. Because this is the Triassic beginning, the aftermath of extinction, when survivors inherit the silence and fill it with possibility. From that silence will rise the ancestors of dinosaurs, of mammals, of everything that will one day walk or fly. But right now, they're just ideas with bones. The world is still sketching them in. You climb a ridge of newly cooled lava. The rock beneath you sparkles where sunlight strikes tiny crystals. From this height, you can see what the Earth has become. Not barren anymore, but reborn. Rivers winding through black stone. Ferns and cycads clustering wherever water lingers. Insects buzzing faintly in the air. And further out, something strange. Smoke. Not from eruption, but from flame. Fire has returned. You run toward it, half in fear, half in awe. When you arrive, you see it's not devastation. The flames are small, flickering across patches of dry grass. The air carries a scent you've almost forgotten, the smell of wood smoke. It's the Earth's first controlled burn, not destruction, but cleansing. Fire is no longer just punishment. It's a process. It clears old growth, releases seeds, and feeds the soil. You crouch beside the fire, watching it crawl across the ground like a glowing animal. The heat brushes your face, gentle now. The flames dance with restraint, as if remembering what they once destroyed. Above them, the smoke rises straight into a sky no longer sealed by ash. For the first time in millions of years, you can see blue. The color hits you like emotion. You hadn't realized how much you'd missed it. The Earth feels lighter now, its gravity somehow kinder. Even the wind moves differently, no longer burdened by dust. It hums across the plain with a voice that sounds almost human. In that wind, you hear whispers of what's coming, not in words, but in rhythm, an accelerating heartbeat. You glance around. The land still bears scars, black veins of basalt cutting through red earth. But between them, life spreads greedily. Seeds take root in cracks, shoots reach toward the sun. The cycle of ruin and renewal, perfected through pain, begins again. You think about how many times the Earth has ended, how many times it's remade itself from its own wreckage. And you realize resilience isn't a trait of life, it's the definition of it. A shadow passes overhead. You look up. For a moment, you think it's a bird, but it isn't. Its wings are leathery, its tail long. It glides silently on the new air, the first of its kind. A parasaur, born from the quiet, riding its freedom across the sky. It's a strange, beautiful thing, awkward yet perfect, as if the earth itself decided to dream in motion again. You watch it circle until it vanishes into sunlight. The fire before you dies to embers. You stir the ash with your hand. Beneath the black crust, the soil glows faintly red, warm, fertile, ready. From this, everything will grow again. You sit in silence, letting the wind and warmth cradle you. The air smells of smoke, rain, and something unnameable, the scent of the future perhaps. And in that golden quiet, the planet exhales. For the first time in millions of years, the heartbeat is steady. Not strong, not loud, just steady. The long silence is over. The age of rebuilding has begun.
The world feels alive again, but differently this time. The thunder of giants is gone. No towering forests, no monstrous dragonflies slicing the air. Instead, the land hums with quieter rhythms. The rustle of low ferns, the click of insect wings, the whisper of water tracing its way through newborn rivers. You stand at the edge of a floodplain, the soil dark and rich. It smells of wet stone and ash, fertility born from ruin. The sky is open and impossibly blue, the kind of blue that almost hums. Small clouds drift lazily overhead, their shadows crawling across the land like soft hands. The air is thinner, clearer, and every breath feels earned. This is the Triassic world, Earth in recovery, cautious but ambitious. You crouch beside a trickling stream, watching it wind between black stones. Tiny fish darts in the shallows, new species, barely more than silver flickers. Their scales shimmer like shards of broken sunlight. It's hard to imagine that every living thing you see carries the memory of catastrophe in its blood. The giants are gone, the survivors are small, and small things, as it turns out, are dangerous. You hear a faint hiss from the brush and turn slowly. A lizard, no larger than your forearm, watches you with slit pupils. It stands still for a long moment, tasting the air. Then, with a movement so fast it's almost invisible, it's gone, vanishing into the dry grass. That was no ordinary reptile. That was an early archosaur, ancestor to the rulers of all future ages, crocodiles, birds, and dinosaurs. The silence left by extinction has become their inheritance. You walk along the riverbank. The world feels younger now, though it's ancient beyond imagination. The landscapes are smoother, the edges less violent. Mountains shimmer with green patches again. The wind carries not ash, but pollen. You pass an open plain, dotted with low trees. Their leaves are thick and waxy, built for drought. Beneath them, herds of small herbivores move in groups. Creatures that look like reptiles but walk like mammals, their limbs tucked neatly under their bodies. They make soft barking sounds to each other, nervous but curious. A few of them stop to look at you, heads tilted. Their eyes glimmer with something new, intelligence or maybe just awareness. They don't run, they just watch. It's strange how quiet evolution can be. The next rulers of the earth are not born in fire, but in patience. The sun climbs higher, turning the plains gold. You feel warmth spreading over your skin, a comfort you haven't felt in what seems like forever. There's no poison in the air now, no ash falling from the sky, just life, fragile, deliberate, determined. You find a patch of flowers, not the kind you know, but early experiments in color and scent. Their petals are thick, waxy, almost crystalline. You bend to smell one, but there's no fragrance yet. The world hasn't remembered how to smell sweet. Not yet. The insects hovering around them are awkwardly built. Long wings, clumsy flight, uncertain purpose. But they're trying. Everything here is trying. You follow a trail of footprints pressed into the soft mud. They're three-toed, bird-like, spaced evenly. Whatever made them walk upright. You trace the line with your eyes until it vanishes into a stand of cycads. You hear movement inside, quick, rhythmic. Then a sudden burst of motion. Something runs. It's small, sleek, and fast, a predator built from precision. You catch only flashes, a curved tail, sharp claws, a long snout. It moves like thought itself, light, fluid, efficient. You've just seen the world's first true dinosaur. It's barely the size of a dog, yet every step carries the arrogance of something that knows it's built for survival. It stops briefly, head tilted toward you. The eyes are sharp, intelligent. Then it's gone again, swallowed by the trees. You stand there in awe, heartbeat matching the rhythm of the planets beneath you. For the first time since the Great Dying, the Earth feels like it has direction. These creatures, small, alert, unassuming, will rise into legends. They'll fill the silence left by the dead and rewrite the laws of dominance. But right now, they're just whispers, the first sparks of a coming storm. The wind picks up, carrying with it the faint smell of ozone. You look up and see clouds gathering, tall and white. Thunder murmurs distantly. You almost laugh. It's been so long since storms meant rain instead of fire. The first drop lands on your hand, cool and clean. Then another and another. The rain returns, not as punishment but as blessing. The soil drinks greedily, streams swell, the air hums with renewal. You close your eyes and tilt your face upward. The water runs down your cheeks, cool and gentle. You remember the first rains that once burned and the long silence that followed. This feels like forgiveness. When you open your eyes again, the plain glitters. The creatures lift their heads, blinking into the rain. The small predator returns, standing on a rise, its body outlined in gold and silver droplets. It stares into the horizon as if it senses what's coming. Because deep down, the Earth remembers what it's capable of, and every small thing that breathes now carries that memory. The age of small things is never truly small. It's the quiet before every empire.
The rain has stopped. The world glistens in its aftermath, clean, raw, alive. But beneath the shimmer, time is already moving differently. The air hums with quiet momentum, and the land beneath your feet is beginning to remember how to bury its own history. You're standing in a shallow valley where rivers once ran wild. Now they've slowed, carving gentle curves through layers of silt. Every grain of mud here is a story waiting to be hidden. Fossils don't start as bones, they start as silence. You crouch and press your palm against the damp earth. It feels warm from the sun, but there's something colder underneath, something permanent. You brush away a layer of sediment and a pattern begins to emerge. The faint outline of ribs, delicate and symmetrical, the ghost of something that used to breathe. The creature's bones are thin, bird-like. You trace the shape with your fingers, long neck, light skull, curved claws. It's one of those small predators you saw before, but this one didn't make it. Maybe it drowned in a flood. Maybe the world simply forgot to let it live. Whatever the reason, it stayed. And over millions of years, water replaced bone with stone, sealing memory inside mineral. You sit back, the sun beats down, the air hums with insects and distant calls of creatures you'll never see. All around you, the earth is writing history one grain of dust at a time. You just happen to catch it mid-sentence. Fossils are the planet's handwriting, and you're standing in its diary. A gust of wind stirs the dust around you. The smell of wet clay fills the air, sweet, ancient, grounding. You close your eyes for a moment and listen. It almost sounds like breathing, the faint hiss of sand shifting. Then thunder rolls, distant, patient, familiar. The sound makes you smile. You've learned by now that every rumble beneath the horizon means change. When you open your eyes again, the light has softened. The shadows stretch long across the plain. The day is ending, and the sky burns in shades of copper and rose. The earth looks peaceful, but peace is only ever a pause between revolutions. You walk toward a ridge of rock jutting from the valley floor. The sediment layers are exposed like pages torn from time. You run your hand along them, sandstone, shale, volcanic ash, each one a lifetime, each one a heartbeat. Halfway up the slope, you find another fossil, this one stranger. Not the clean lines of a skeleton, but a smear, an imprint of scales, a ripple of texture, the record of movement itself. You realize that fossils aren't about death at all. They're about persistence, the refusal of form to disappear. You think about the creatures you've seen, the first reptiles, the timid survivors, the small bright-eyed hunters. Most of them are gone now, but their shapes remain, pressed into the crust like prayers. The world has begun a new conversation with time. To live is to vanish slowly, layer by layer. A shadow moves across the rock. You look up. A pterosaur glides overhead, wings wide and steady. It circles once, its call sharp and brief, before vanishing into the amber light. Its body will one day fossilize too, if it's lucky, if the earth chooses to remember. You keep climbing. The air grows cooler. At the top of the ridge, you find a stretch of exposed stone, flat and smooth. Across it, footprints cross in every direction. Some are tiny, others enormous. You kneel, tracing one with your fingertips. 3 toes, sharp claws, the mark of a predator long gone. It's strange, the intimacy of it, the idea that something stepped here, just once, and the world never forgot. You stand and look out. The land below glows under the last light of day. The rivers catch fire in the sun's reflection. The breeze shifts, carrying the scent of iron and rain. You wonder how many ghosts walk beside you, how many forms still trapped beneath the ground, waiting to be found. And somewhere deep within that thought, you understand something that feels sacred. The fossil record isn't just a story of life, it's a story of memory. The Earth doesn't keep everything. It forgets constantly, reshapes, erases, begins again. But every so often, by chance or mercy, it remembers perfectly. A leaf, a feather, a single step across wet clay. You take one yourself, pressing your heel into the damp soil. It leaves an imprint, soft and shallow. You know it won't last long. The wind will erase it by morning. But for a brief moment, it exists, a ghost in waiting. You turn toward the horizon. The sun is sinking now, swallowed by cloud and shadow. The world darkens, but the land still gleams faintly under the fading light, as if lit from within. Somewhere below your feet, countless echoes lie stacked in stone, proof that even silence has shape. And above you, the stars begin to return. Each one a fossil of light, each one a memory burning through time.
Night has passed. The world wakes beneath a heavier sun, warmer, fuller, hungrier. The air carries that old metallic tang again, but this time it's sweetened by the smell of green things. The rain has carved the valleys deeper, and the rivers, swollen with life, glitter like veins of molten glass across the land. You stand at the edge of a floodplain teeming with movement. The small survivors of the last age have multiplied, evolved, and grown bolder. Their patience has been rewarded. The quiet world of the Triassic is gone. The Jurassic has arrived, and it does not whisper. You hear it before you see it. A low tremor, steady and rhythmic, echoing through the ground. Then another. Then hundreds. You brace yourself as the forest begins to sway. The first shapes appear through the haze, massive bodies, legs like pillars, tails sweeping the air. Their necks rise higher than trees, their backs arched like bridges of muscle and bone. The dinosaurs have come into their inheritance. You watch them move in slow majesty through the valley, sauropods, the architects of this living empire. Their skin glimmers like wet stone under the sun. Each step sends a shiver through the ground, a heartbeat magnified into geography. The air vibrates with their sound, a low, guttural chorus, deep enough to be felt more than heard. They breathe in unison, like the world itself expanding and contracting around them. Their shadows roll across you like waves. It's almost too much to take in. The scale, the serenity, the impossible beauty of it. The planet has gone from silence to symphony. And yet, even here, death is everywhere. A smaller predator, sleek and sharp, its scales patterned with ochre stripes, circles the herd's edge. You recognize the grace in its movement, precise, coiled potential. It waits for a mistake, a straggler. The balance of life has returned, but this time it's choreographed with precision. You crouch near a stream that cuts through the valley floor. The water runs clear, over stones smooth from centuries of flow. A shadow moves beneath it. Fish, frogs, turtles, tiny echoes of the world before the dying. The small and the immense now exist together, perfectly balanced. You dip your hand in. The water is warm from the sun, but alive, restless. It carries flecks of pollen and fragments of green, proof that the land around it hums with purpose again. Above, the air is busy. Giant dragonflies still hover, though smaller now. Birds, real birds, not just gliders, flit through the canopy, their calls sharp and quick. Each sound feels like punctuation, evolution speaking in short, confident sentences. You step through the forest. The trees here are vast, their trunks thick as fortresses. Ferns carpet the ground, brushing against your legs. Every surface drips with life. Even the air feels textured, layered with breath and heat. You stop as a shadow moves across you, a shape blotting out the sun. You look up, and for a moment, your mind refuses to understand. The creature above you is enormous, a long-necked titan stretching across the sky, moving through the canopy like a ship through fog. Its tail sways lazily behind it, carving invisible circles through sunlight. Its heartbeat seems to match the rhythm of the earth beneath your feet. And then, in the distance, a new sound, a bellow, long and resonant, rolling through the valley like thunder. Others answer. The sound builds into something ancient, orchestral. You realize you're standing in the middle of a conversation that began long before language. The world feels full again, full in the way it must have been when it first began breathing. But even fullness carries its own warning. The air here is dense, humid, rich with oxygen. Growth happens too easily. Forests sprawl until they choke themselves. Insects multiply until the night hums like static. The balance between creation and collapse grows thinner with every sunrise. You feel it in the ground, the faint vibration of tectonic restlessness, the pulse of magma rising through old scars. The earth never truly rests. You cross the plain as the sun dips lower. Shadows stretch across the herds, painting their bodies gold and bronze. You stop to watch as smaller dinosaurs, bipedal hunters with curious bird-like eyes, dart between the giant's legs, scavenging scraps of fallen vegetation. There's no waste in this ecosystem. Every breath feeds another. Night begins to fall. The world glows under the fading sun, the sky bruised purple and copper. Fireflies blink in the tall grass, tracing constellations that mimic the ones above. And you, still standing amid the greatest creatures the Earth has ever made, realize something that feels almost human. This is balance. For the first time since the planet's birth, life and death have found rhythm. The giants rule, but not forever. No empire lasts. Even now, in the deep black between stars, something stirs. A new breath, a new idea, waiting for its moment to take the stage. The Earth always moves towards change. It can't help itself. For now, though, you let the rhythm take you. The ground hums, the air glows, the heartbeat of the world is strong and certain again. You close your eyes and feel the tremor of distant thunder. Not storm, not eruption, just the sound of a planet alive and content, if only for a while. And above it all, the wind carries a whisper you've learned to recognize. Not warning, not fear, just promise. Remember this.
Morning breaks like revelation. The air is soft, almost weightless, carrying a hum you can't quite name. It isn't the sound of wind or leaves, it's movement. Constant, layered, alive. Shadows cross the ground in bursts of motion. For the first time, the world is full of wings. You tilt your head upward, and the sky moves. Hundreds, no thousands of creatures glide through the air, leathery, feathered, scaled. Some soar like arrows, some flutter like dancers. For millions of years, life crawled, swam, or trudged through mud. Now, it has learned to fly. A small shadow flits past your face, quick, curious. It perches on a nearby branch, and you finally see it up close. Its feathers are half-formed, patchy but brave. Its wings twitch as if the very idea of flight still feels like an accident. You're looking at the beginning of a miracle, Archaeopteryx. Half dinosaur, half bird, a creature suspended between worlds. It cocks its head, watching you with a sharp, intelligent eye. Then it leaps awkwardly and catches a gust of air. For a heartbeat, it wobbles, but then, impossibly, it steadies. It glides into the forest canopy and vanishes in a shimmer of sunlight. The sound of its wings lingers in the air, a whisper of what's to come. The world feels lighter now. The forests are vast again, but not oppressive. Sunlight filters through ferns and cycads, painting the ground in shifting gold. The creatures that once thundered across the plains still roam. The sauropods, the horned giants, the predators whose names will one day echo in human tongues. But above them, a new kingdom has claimed the heavens. You walk through a glade where streams cut narrow paths through moss and roots. Small reptiles sun themselves on rocks. Insects glitter like living jewels. Everything seems in motion, as though evolution itself has quickened its pace. And then you hear it, a sound you've never heard before. Not the deep roar of beasts, but something sharper, higher, a call. You follow it, weaving between trees until the forest opens into a cliffside. The view steals your breath. Below, an ocean spreads out like blue glass, its surface dotted with islands. The air is alive with movement, creatures diving, soaring, circling, wings against the wind, cries over the surf. The sky has become a stage. Massive pterosaurs glide in formation, their wingspans wider than houses. Smaller ones dart between them, chirping and snapping at the air. Every movement feels deliberate, every dive a declaration of mastery. For the first time since the world began breathing, something has escaped gravity's grip. You watch a pterosaur climb higher and higher, catching thermals rising from the cliffs. Its wings stretch translucent in the sun, every vein and bone visible. Then, with a single flex, it dives, straight down, slicing through clouds, disappearing into the sea with barely a splash.
Moments later, it rises again, fish glinting in its beak. Life has claimed the sky and the ocean in the same breath. You laugh softly. The sound feels strange after so much silence. This age doesn't carry the slow melancholy of the Permian or the quiet recovery of the Triassic. It hums with confidence. Every leaf, every heartbeat seems sure of itself. But even beauty, you've learned, hides tension. The air feels different, richer, warmer. The climate, once gentle, is shifting again. Volcanoes whisper in the distance, their smoke curling like punctuation against the horizon. You can taste the metallic tang of carbon in the wind. The earth never stays still. It's too restless for permanence. A shadow passes over you, large enough to darken the cliffside. You look up, shielding your eyes. Another giant pterosaur sweeps across the sun, its cry deep and resonant, echoing across the valley like thunder given shape. Its wings tilt, catching the light, and for a moment, it looks like a cross of bone and sky. The world below doesn't flinch. Herds move across the plains, predators stalk in the undergrowth, rivers gleam through jungles that hum with heat. The balance is perfect, so perfect it almost feels fragile. You step closer to the cliffside's edge. The ocean breeze cools your skin. You stare down at the waves breaking against black stone, and for a heartbeat, you can almost see through time. Future fossils waiting beneath the surface, stories already written but not yet told. The world always leaves traces of its triumphs, even in its joy. A distant rumble shakes the air, not thunder, deeper, older, the kind of sound you feel in your ribs. Somewhere far away, tectonic plates grind again, stirring the deep. It's faint, but it's there, a reminder. You watch the sky darken just slightly. The light softens, the air thickens, the wind shifts direction, and with it comes a smell you remember far too well: sulfur. The creatures don't notice. They continue to glide, to sing, to rise into the blue. The world looks eternal in its confidence. But you know better. You've seen the pattern. Every height is just a prelude to the fall. You close your eyes, listening to the rhythm of wings above, the waves below, the hum of life in between. The sound is hypnotic, beautiful, complete. And beneath it, faint but undeniable, you can hear it again. That slow, patient heartbeat, steady as ever. The planet is alive. The sky belongs to it now. But deep below, the earth is already shifting its weight, preparing to turn the page.
The day begins in gold and ends in glass. You wake to sunlight so bright it almost hums, washing over endless green. Jungles thick as oceans, rivers coiling like veins, herds moving like currents through a living sea. The air is warm, rich, sweet with the scent of wet vegetation. The world has never been more alive. And it will never be this alive again. You stand on a cliff overlooking a forest that stretches forever. The ground trembles faintly, not with quakes or eruptions, but with footsteps. The slow thunder of creatures so vast they seem unreal. Titanosaurs. Their tails sweep the trees, their necks move like serpents of flesh and bone. Between them, smaller hunters stalk, clever and fast, their eyes sharp as obsidian. The world below glows under the sun like it's been varnished. Perfection. A balance so complete it almost feels sacred. Then, you notice it. A streak across the sky. Thin, white, and impossibly fast. At first, it looks like another shooting star, the kind that disappears before you can make a wish. But this one doesn't vanish. It grows, expands. The air itself seems to bend around it. The animals look up. You can hear their unease, a low, rolling chorus spreading across the plain. The birds stop calling. Even the wind pauses. Then, the light changes. The sun's gold turns to silver, then to white. The shadow of the thing crosses the sky like a blade. It moves too fast to comprehend, but you feel it. Every molecule of air around you compressing, screaming. And then, it hits. No explosion, just silence. For one impossible second, the entire world stops breathing. Then comes the roar. The sound is beyond sound. It's everything at once. Thunder, wind, mountains breaking, oceans rising. The ground heaves, the air ignites. You fall to your knees as a wall of heat slams into you, the breath ripped from your lungs before you can scream. The horizon flashes white, then red, then disappears entirely. You're still hundreds of miles away, and yet the impact reaches you like judgment. Trees snap like bones, rivers boil. The sky, your sky, turns to fire. You try to breathe, but the air has turned to dust. Somewhere beyond your sight, in what will one day be called Mexico, a crater nearly 20 miles deep has opened in an instant. The asteroid that struck was 6 miles wide, traveling faster than thought, carrying the kinetic fury of 1 billion atomic bombs. The dinosaurs never saw it coming. Within moments, shockwaves circle the globe. Forests crumble into flame. The oceans recoil, birthing tsunamis that travel across entire continents. The air fills with molten rock, glass raining from the sky. You stumble through the smoke, blind, choking. The world around you glows red, not from the sun, but from burning atmosphere. It feels like walking inside a furnace. For hours, it rained fire. Not metaphor, reality. Tiny droplets of molten rock, ejected by the impact, re-enter the atmosphere and ignite on descent. The entire planet glows. Even the night side burns. You collapse in the ash, covering your head. The ground shakes continuously, a never-ending heartbeat of catastrophe. The sound isn't thunder anymore. It's the sound of the planet itself trying to survive. The fires rage for days. Then comes the cold. Ash blots out the sun completely. The world dims to gray. Temperatures plunge. Plants wither within weeks, then days. The great herds wander aimlessly, starving under a darkened sky. Predators follow them, not to hunt, but to die beside them. You walk through a forest of ghosts, trees blackened, leaves gone, air thick with dust. The silence is unbearable. You pass the body of a fallen giant, half buried in soot. Its massive eye, clouded and still, reflects the faintest glimmer of light. Around it, smaller creatures pick at the carcass, desperate, instinctively carrying on, even as the world ends. That's the secret, isn't it? Even in the apocalypse, something always continues. Weeks turn to months. The fires die, the cold deepens, the oceans turn acidic. The air stings your throat. Life retreats underground, underwater, into the cracks and crevices where heat and hope still linger. You look up at the sky, what's left of it. It's gray, streaked with ash and faint light from a sun too weak to burn through. The moon hangs faintly visible, pale and distant. The earth feels paused, not dead, not alive. Just waiting. You kneel in the dust, pressing your palm to the ground. It's still warm beneath the surface. That same heartbeat, slower now, but present. The pulse that has survived every ending. Somewhere deep beneath you, something tiny still moves. Mammals, no larger than mice, curled in burrows, breathing through the dark. Their eyes will never see the sky, but one day, their descendants will look up and wonder how it all began. You exhale and close your eyes. The air tastes like ash and memory. The empire of giants is over. The reign of flight has fallen. But the story isn't. Because even now, in the quiet after the fire, the earth still remembers how to begin again. And this time, it will dream in thunder or scales. It will dream in skin, in thought, in fragile hands that will someday dig through this dust and find the bones of those who came before.
The world you wake into is unrecognizable. The forests are gone. The skies, once heavy with wings, lie empty. The Great Plains are carpeted not in green, but in gray. Ash stretching from horizon to horizon like the residue of a bad dream. But beneath that ash, the earth is still breathing. You kneel and press your hand to the ground. It's warm, barely, faintly, but enough to tell you the fire has retreated inward, back into the planet's slow heart. The silence feels familiar again, the same hush that followed every other ending. But this time, something different moves within it. Soft rustling, quick movement, life, small, furtive, and stubborn. The age of reptiles has ended. The age of mammals begins in whispers. You crouch beside a fallen log, its bark charred black, hollowed by centuries of fire and cold. Inside, something blinks back at you, two glassy eyes reflecting faint light. A creature no larger than your hand, its body covered in fur so fine it catches the air. It twitches, sniffs, then disappears into the dark. It's nothing extraordinary to look at, but this is the future. This is survival perfected through smallness. The air still tastes of dust, but it's breathable again. The sun has begun its slow return, its light pale but persistent. You can see patches of green pushing through the ash, moss, ferns, the first shoots of recovery. Each one a defiance of gravity and despair. You walk through what used to be a forest. The trees now stand as charcoal pillars, brittle and silent. Between them, the ground hums faintly. The earth is warming again, nurturing what remains. The mammals, small, soft-bodied, secretive, rule from the shadows. They eat roots, insects, seeds. They move at night, under skies that no longer glow with fire, but with starlight. You stop and look upward. The stars have never looked so sharp. For the first time in ages, the air is clear of smoke. Every point of light above you feels impossibly close, like tiny candles over a grave. The world feels smaller now, quieter, but peace isn't emptiness, it's potential. You walk until you reach a low valley. A stream runs through it, thin, cold, lined with green moss and white pebbles. You kneel and take a sip. The water tastes clean, shockingly pure. You haven't tasted anything that alive in millions of years. You laugh softly, though it comes out as more of a sigh. Even after everything, the planet still knows how to heal. From somewhere nearby, a sound startles you, a shrill metallic call. You look up to see movement in the branches of a young tree. A bird, small, brown, inconspicuous, hops along a limb. It tilts its head, studying you with one bright, unblinking eye. Then it sings. Just one note, clear, simple. And in that single sound, the silence breaks. You close your eyes and listen. The song echoes off the bare stone, off the water, off the air itself. It feels like a pulse of color returning to a black and white world. The echo of something older, feathers, wings, memory, woven into new form. The dinosaurs aren't gone, not really. They've only changed costumes. You keep walking. The air warms around you, carrying the faint scent of wet soil. Rain falls again, not fire this time, but clean water that slides gently down your arms and face. The sound of it is steady, almost soothing. Tiny shapes scurry through the underbrush, leaving delicate trails in the mud. Their prints are familiar, small, five-toed, precise. You follow them to a burrow entrance at the base of a rock. The air inside smells of warmth, of fur, of life continuing out of sight. Generations will pass here, unnoticed, each heartbeat an act of defiance. You imagine them surviving the cold, nursing their young in darkness, waiting patiently for a sky that no longer burns. They don't dream of domination, they just dream of tomorrow. And that, you realize, is enough. The wind shifts, the rain thickens, drumming on the soil. You tilt your face upward, eyes closed. For the first time in what feels like eternity, the water doesn't sting. It cools your skin, washes the ash from your hands. When you open your eyes again, you see green. Not patches, not fragments, fields of it. Small plants spreading over the black earth, softening the scars. The color is almost blinding after so much gray. The air smells like beginning. You take a breath, and it fills your chest with something you haven't felt since the first forests of Pangea: hope. Above you, the small bird calls again, joined by another, then another. A chorus rises, hesitant at first, then confident. The world hums with the sound of soft survival. The giants are gone, the empire has ended, but in their place, something more adaptable has emerged, something that knows how to hide, how to wait, how to grow when no one is looking. The age of ash is ending, the age of fur has begun.
The earth has gone quiet again, but not the kind of silence you've known before. This quiet is full, breathing, alive. It's the hush between heartbeats, the pause between generations. The scars of the last catastrophe are fading, slowly buried under layers of new soil, new roots, new life. You're standing in what was once a desert, though now it doesn't look like one. Grasses stretch to the horizon in green and gold waves, bending with the wind. The sun hangs low, gentle and forgiving. The air smells of growth, clean, rich, like warm rain on stone. The world has learned to begin again. Beneath the surface, the tectonic plates continue their slow conversation. You can't hear them, but you can feel it. The faint hum of motion deep below your feet. The endless shifting of continents that have never forgotten how to drift apart and find each other again. Pangea is long gone, shattered into the continents you'll one day recognize. But the memory of it still lingers. You can sense it in the way mountain chains echo one another across oceans, how the edges of continents fit like puzzle pieces separated by time. The earth remembers what it once was, even if it no longer can be. You kneel, pressing your hand into the soil. It's cool, soft, full of life. Beneath your fingers, worms and roots weave through the earth like tiny rivers. You can almost feel the pulse beneath it, a rhythm steady as breathing. The surface world hums with new forms. Herds of mammals graze the plains, their coats thick, their eyes soft and alert. The birds above them wheel and dive, tracing patterns across the open sky. Insects shimmer in sunlight, their wings alive with color. Life has returned to balance again, but this time it's different. This time, intelligence has begun to stir. You catch sight of a shape near the trees, a small creature walking upright, awkward but determined. Its arms hang close to its chest, its eyes wide and curious. It pauses to study the horizon, as though it understands for the first time that there's something beyond it. You take a step closer, careful not to disturb the moment. The creature tilts its head, meeting your gaze. There's something familiar in that look, recognition maybe, or wonder. It's the first spark of something new. You know what comes next. Not in detail, but in feeling. The story doesn't end with bones and scales, or even with fur and flight. It ends with thought, with the ability to look at the world and see meaning, pattern, memory. And maybe, someday, regret. You sit in the grass and watch the creature vanish into the forest. The air hums softly, filled with the chatter of life, birds, insects, the rustle of leaves. But beneath it all, that deeper sound remains, the pulse. The same heartbeat that echoed through the swamps of the Carboniferous, that trembled beneath the deserts of the Permian, that carried through fire and ice and silence. The heartbeat of Earth. You close your eyes and listen. It's not a sound, not really. It's a feeling. A slow, constant rhythm that seems to sync with your own. You realize then that you've been following it all along, across every age, through every death and rebirth. Every storm, every silence, every ending was really a beginning. You breathe in, the air warm against your skin. Somewhere far away, thunder murmurs, a storm forming beyond the horizon. Not a storm of fire this time, but of rain and renewal, the kind that brings life instead of taking it. The planet has always known how to heal itself, how to start again when everything seems lost. And now, as you sit in the grass surrounded by the quiet symphony of life, you finally understand. This heartbeat isn't just the sound of the earth, it's the sound of memory. Every fossil, every seed, every footprint pressed into ancient mud. All of it is rhythm. All of it is the planet remembering itself. The sun sinks lower. The world glows gold, then red, then deep violet. Shadows stretch across the plains like long fingers reaching toward tomorrow. The creatures retreat into burrows and nests. The wind cools, the air settles. You lie back and look at the sky. The stars are out now, billions of ancient lights flickering across black infinity. Each one a fossil of its own, a memory burning from another time, another place. You listen again, not for thunder or wind, but for that faint, steady pulse. It's there, under everything. The song of stone, the breath of roots, the slow march of continents. It has never stopped, and neither will you. The heartbeat that began beneath the soil of Pangea still moves through you. Every cell, every breath, every story you tell. It's part of it. The earth breathes in you now. Night again. But this one feels different. Calmer. Fuller. The kind of darkness that doesn't swallow you, but holds you. Like a parent cradling a restless child. You can almost hear the sigh of the earth beneath the quiet, a long exhale after eons of chaos. The sky above is so heavy with stars it looks alive. They glimmer like scattered memories, ancient light arriving late, still trying to tell you what it once was. You lie there, staring up, and for a moment you feel it again. That same rhythm you've been following since the beginning. The Earth's heartbeat. Still there, still steady. You've watched it survive every death imaginable. Fire, ice, poison, darkness. You've walked through the silence after each catastrophe, and every time you've seen it come back. Different, smaller, stranger, smarter. And now you realize something. All along, you weren't just watching the planet evolve. You were becoming part of it. You sit up. The night wind brushes your skin, cool and familiar. It carries the scent of soil and rain and something faintly human, smoke. Somewhere, not far away, firelight flickers. You rise and walk toward it. Through the tall grass and the shadows, you find them. Figures gathered around a small flame. Their faces glow amber in the dark, their eyes reflecting the dance of light like wet stone. They laugh softly, gesture, share food. Their voices rise and fall in patterns you recognize: story, comfort, memory. You realize you're looking at the latest chapter of the planet's long memory, us. The mammals that survived the darkness have learned to speak the fire's language. The same warmth that once burned the sky now bends at their will. You watch one reach toward the flame, pull back just before it licks their skin. The reflection of it flickers across their eyes like the first spark of thought. You sit beside them. They don't notice. The world has moved past needing witnesses. It only needs continuers. The fire cracks softly, spitting tiny embers into the air. Each ember rises, vanishes, and for a heartbeat resembles a falling star. The symmetry isn't lost on you. Once, a stone fell from the sky and ended everything. Now, stones glow in the firelight, building warmth instead of ruin. The Earth has finally found balance again. Not in size, or power, or domination, but in awareness, in reflection. One of the figures picks up a charred stick and begins to draw in the dirt. Circles, lines, marks that mean nothing yet, but they will. They always do. The need to remember, to mark time, to tell the story, it's older than language. You lean closer, watching. The marks in the dirt twist into something familiar. A spiral, a line, a shape that might almost be a map. And suddenly you understand. You've been walking through the same spiral all along. Every extinction, every rebirth, every heartbeat, it all loops back, carving the same shape in different ages. The Earth doesn't move in lines, it moves in circles. Even you, made of stardust, molded from ancient oceans, carrying the DNA of creatures that never saw the sky, you are another loop in the same design. You touch your chest. Beneath the skin, your own heart beats steady. The same rhythm that once pulsed through the molten rivers of early Pangea, that thundered beneath the feet of titans, that whispered beneath the fur of tiny survivors. That pulse is billions of years old, and it's still keeping time. The figures by the fire begin to hum, a low, rhythmic sound that blends with the wind. It isn't quite a song, not yet, but it carries the same essence as the Earth's heartbeat. You close your eyes and listen. It's beautiful. Primitive, yes, but beautiful. Because it's the same music that's been playing since the beginning, just in a new language. You breathe in deeply, tasting the air, smoke, grass, the faint sweetness of life renewing itself yet again. Above, the stars shimmer. Below, the soil hums with memory. Between them, you sit, an echo of everything that's ever lived and died, condensed into one fragile thinking shape. The fire pops. A spark lands near your hand, glowing briefly before fading into ash. You brush it away gently, and for a heartbeat, you see it again. The red core beneath the black, still burning. The planet's story isn't over. It never will be. Every ending has been practiced for another beginning. Every silence, just the pause before another song. You tilt your head back, eyes closed, and let the heartbeat find you again. Not beneath the soil this time, but beneath your skin. It's slower now, wiser, patient. And when you finally open your eyes, the fire is fading, the figures dissolving into the night. The stars seem closer than ever, their light brushing your face like old memories returning home. You whisper, though there's no one left to hear it. We were never separate from you. The wind carries it away. The ground hums softly in reply. The heartbeat continues, not below you anymore, but within you. The story of Pangea ends where it began, in the warmth beneath the surface, where everything old learns to begin again.